Most people think the Philippines is just a small, developing country struggling to keep up with giants like China and the US. But what if I told you it has the potential to become a global superpower? Yes, a nation often underestimated for its size, resources, and infrastructure could one day stand shoulder to shoulder with the world's economic and geopolitical heavyweights. How is that even possible? What hidden advantages does it have that the rest of the world keeps overlooking? Today we'll uncover the surprising truth about the Philippines' rise, its people, its strategy, and the opportunities that could change everything. Over the past few decades, the Philippines has experienced rapid economic growth, yet it remains overshadowed by bigger neighbors like China, Japan, and even Vietnam. With a population of over 115 million, it's the 13th most populous country in the world, and its young workforce is growing faster than almost anywhere else in Asia. Remittances from overseas workers alone contribute more than 10% of its GDP, showing just how dependent the economy is on its people rather than natural resources or heavy industry. But here's the tension. Despite these advantages, the Philippines still struggles with political instability, infrastructure gaps, and brain drain. Can a country with limited natural resources, regional vulnerabilities, and a reliance on service-based sectors realistically aim for superpower status? Or is it destined to remain a middle-income nation, admired for its culture and people but ignored on the global stage? Understanding this question isn't just about the Philippines. It's about how nations with the right strategy, demographics, and resilience can potentially challenge the global order, and what that could mean for the future of geopolitics and the economy. But what if we stopped measuring superpower potential by land size, natural resources, or military might? What if we looked at it purely through the lens of human capital, strategic geography, and adaptability? The Philippines sits at the crossroads of Asia with access to some of the world's busiest trade routes, a young and tech-savvy population, and a culture that thrives on resilience and innovation. Viewed this way, many of the limitations we think of as permanent, like small land area or reliance on remittances, suddenly become opportunities. Could it be that the Philippines' greatest strength isn't what it owns, but how it uses what it already has? One of the most compelling examples of the Philippines' potential comes from its booming business process outsourcing industry. Starting in the early 2000s, global companies began outsourcing customer service and back-office operations to the Philippines. By 2023, the sector employed over 1.3 million Filipinos and contributed nearly $30 billion annually to the country's economy, making it one of the largest BPO hubs in the world. What's striking is not just the revenue, but the talent pool driving it. The Philippines produces over 400,000 college graduates every year, many of them fluent in English and trained in technical and professional skills. While countries like India had dominated outsourcing earlier, the Philippines' cultural adaptability, strong communication skills, and work ethic allowed it to capture a significant share of the global market. This case shows how a nation with limited natural resources can leverage human capital and specialization to compete globally. Another example can be seen in the remittance economy. Filipinos working abroad send back more than $38 billion annually, a number that represents over 10% of the country's GDP. These remittances have helped maintain economic stability, fuel domestic consumption, and even support real estate and small businesses. Countries with similar populations and economic potential, like Vietnam or Indonesia, have struggled to match this inflow of external financial resources. What makes the Philippine case unique is the scale and consistency of these remittances over decades, demonstrating the country's global labor influence. It's a striking example of how a nation can turn migration, a challenge for most countries, into a sustained economic advantage. Beyond economics, the Philippines' strategic geographic position provides another case study in potential geopolitical influence. Located at the heart of Southeast Asia, it sits along major maritime trade routes connecting East Asia to the Pacific and beyond. This location has historically made it a focal point for colonial powers, and today it offers unparalleled access for trade, logistics, and geopolitical influence. Consider Singapore, a much smaller country with a similar geographic advantage. Despite limited land and resources, it became a global hub through strategic policies and international positioning. The Philippines, with its larger population and natural harbor systems, has the latent potential to replicate a scaled-up version of this success if it navigates political and infrastructural challenges effectively. Finally, a smaller-scale, micro-level example comes from the startup and tech ecosystem in the Philippines. In the past decade, Manila and Cebu have seen a surge in tech incubators, fintech startups, and e-commerce platforms. Companies like Coins.ph and Voyager Innovations have leveraged mobile technology to provide financial services to millions of unbanked Filipinos, demonstrating innovative solutions to structural economic challenges. These successes highlight the Philippines' ability to adapt and innovate rapidly even when facing constraints such as bureaucratic hurdles, limited funding, or infrastructural gaps. When compared to neighboring countries like Thailand or Malaysia, the speed at which Filipino startups have scaled and attracted international investment is remarkable. These case studies collectively show a pattern. The Philippines consistently turns perceived weaknesses into competitive advantages. Its workforce, diaspora, geographic location, and emerging tech sector all contribute to a hidden superpower potential that isn't immediately obvious. While the country still faces significant hurdles, these real-world examples prove that with the right strategy, policy, and global positioning, it could very well punch above its weight on the world stage. To understand whether the Philippines can become a global superpower, we need to dig into the mechanisms behind its potential. At the heart of this question is the concept of human capital. Think of human capital as the engine that drives a nation's economic and geopolitical influence. A country may have vast oil reserves, fertile land, or advanced technology, but without skilled, adaptable people, those resources often remain underutilized. In the case of the Philippines, the population isn't just large, it's young, globally connected, and increasingly tech-savvy. Over 60% of its citizens are under the age of 35, giving it one of the youngest workforces in Asia. A youthful population translates into an expanding labor force, higher innovation potential, and a market that can drive domestic consumption, all crucial ingredients for global influence. Another key mechanism is the Philippines' strategic geographic position. Located in the heart of Southeast Asia, it sits along the Luzon Strait, which connects the South China Sea to the Pacific Ocean, one of the busiest maritime corridors in the world. Economically, this gives the Philippines a natural advantage for trade, logistics, and naval influence. Politically, it places the country in the middle of regional power dynamics between China, the US, and ASEAN neighbors. The cause and effect here is clear. A country in this location can leverage trade, foreign investment, and strategic alliances to boost its global standing if it invests properly in infrastructure and governance. It's like being a chess player sitting on the center squares. Your moves matter more, and you can influence the game disproportionately. Economically, the Philippines relies heavily on service exports and remittances. While some critics see this as a vulnerability, it actually creates a highly diversified and resilient inflow of foreign currency. Consider this. In 2023, remittances alone accounted for 10% of GDP, stabilizing the economy even during global recessions. Meanwhile, the BPO sector employs over 1 million workers, generating nearly $30 billion annually. When you combine remittances and outsourcing, the Philippines effectively turns its diaspora and workforce into a global economic lever. The cause-effect relationship is fascinating. The migration of skilled workers abroad strengthens domestic economic stability, which in turn funds local entrepreneurship and consumption, creating a cycle of growth that doesn't rely on natural resources. Technology and innovation also play a critical role. Startups in fintech, e-commerce, and health tech are not just solving local problems, they're building platforms that can scale internationally. This creates an effect similar to that of Silicon Valley. Small initial investments in talent and infrastructure can yield outsized global impact if the right ecosystem exists. For instance, fintech companies like Coins.ph have digitized financial access for millions, demonstrating that innovation can compensate for structural weaknesses like low banking penetration. Think of it as building a ladder on a cliff. Even if the climb looks impossible at first, every rung of technological progress brings the country closer to the summit. Finally, the interplay of governance, policy, and global perception cannot be ignored. Even with a talented workforce and strategic location, the Philippines must improve infrastructure, regulatory stability, and education to fully translate potential into power. Poor governance or corruption acts like friction in an engine. The energy is there, but it leaks away before producing maximum output. Conversely, targeted reforms can dramatically increase the efficiency of its human capital and geographic advantage, creating a multiplier effect that accelerates economic and geopolitical influence. In short, the Philippines' potential as a superpower isn't about magic. It's a network of cause and effect relationships. Young population to skilled workforce to remittances and DPO revenue to innovation and startups to strategic trade positioning to global influence. Each element reinforces the other. Viewed this way, the question isn't whether the Philippines has power, it's whether it can harness these mechanisms efficiently enough to compete on the world stage. If the Philippines wants to move from potential to real global influence, there are several pathways it could pursue. One of the most immediate solutions lies in investing heavily in education and skills development. While the country already produces hundreds of thousands of college graduates annually, there is a skills mismatch in fields like technology, engineering, and advanced sciences. By aligning its education system with the demands of the global economy, the Philippines could create a workforce capable of driving high-value industries from artificial intelligence to renewable energy. The trade-off here is clear. Such reforms require massive investment, political stability, and a cultural shift toward prioritizing STEM and innovation over traditional paths. Countries like South Korea and Singapore show how long-term educational investment can pay off. Within decades, they transformed from developing economies into technological powerhouses. A second pathway is strategic infrastructure development, particularly in transport, energy, and digital connectivity. Efficient ports, highways, and internet infrastructure would not only boost domestic productivity but also attract foreign investment. Consider Vietnam, which leveraged improved logistics and manufacturing zones to become a global export hub. The Philippines could replicate this model, but challenges include funding, bureaucratic hurdles, and geographical limitations due to its archipelagic nature. Yet, the benefit is clear: faster goods movement, reduced costs, and stronger integration into global supply chains. Another critical pathway is leveraging the diaspora and global networks. Filipino overseas workers are already a financial lifeline through remittances, but their skills, connections, and entrepreneurial experience could be further harnessed. Policies that encourage returning professionals, foreign partnerships, and investment in tech hubs could turn the diaspora into a powerful engine for innovation and international influence. The trade-off here involves balancing local job creation with global integration. Too much reliance on overseas talent could leave domestic industries underdeveloped. Still, examples like India's IT boom show how diaspora networks can accelerate national progress dramatically. Finally, the Philippines could pursue strategic geopolitical positioning. By strengthening alliances with major powers, participating actively in ASEAN initiatives, and asserting influence in regional trade and security discussions, it could punch above its weight diplomatically. The benefit is enhanced global visibility, investment inflows, and regional leverage. The trade-off is delicate. Aligning too closely with one power may create tension with others. While neutrality may limit strategic influence, countries like Singapore and the UAE have successfully navigated this tightrope, balancing regional partnerships with global ambitions. In essence, the Philippines' path to superpower status isn't about a single miracle solution. It's about layering multiple strategies. Education fuels innovation, infrastructure supports trade, diaspora networks amplify talent, and geopolitical positioning opens doors to global influence. Each pathway comes with its challenges, but together they form a blueprint for sustainable and scalable growth. If the country can coordinate these efforts effectively, it could turn latent potential into a transformative global presence. But even with all these potential pathways, it's important to recognize that no solution comes without trade-offs. Investing heavily in education, infrastructure, or technology requires massive financial resources, long-term political stability, and careful planning, resources that the Philippines has historically struggled to sustain consistently. Rapid development can also exacerbate social inequalities as wealth and opportunities may concentrate in urban centers like Manila or Cebu, leaving rural areas behind. Geopolitical strategies carry their own risks. Aligning too closely with one global power could invite tension with others, while remaining neutral may limit influence and access to critical investments or alliances. Leveraging the diaspora is a double-edged sword as well. While overseas talent brings capital and expertise, over-reliance on it may hinder domestic skill building and innovation. Ultimately, these challenges highlight a fundamental truth. Becoming a global superpower isn't about one big breakthrough. It's about making a series of careful, informed decisions over decades. Every step involves balancing economic growth, social equity, and political strategy. Success depends on the ability to navigate these constraints thoughtfully, turning potential into real, sustainable influence while minimizing unintended consequences. So, can the Philippines become a global superpower? The answer isn't simple, but the potential is undeniable. Its young, skilled population, strategic location, thriving diaspora, and emerging tech sector all create a foundation that few countries its size possess. Realizing this potential will require bold investments in education, infrastructure, and innovation, as well as careful navigation of political and geopolitical challenges. The urgency is clear. The global balance of power is shifting, and nations that move decisively now will define the next century. For the Philippines, this means transforming latent advantages into tangible influence before opportunities slip away. It's a test of strategy, foresight, and resilience, and one that could redefine how the world views this underestimated nation. So here's the question. Will the Philippines rise to claim its place among the world's superpowers, or will it continue to be overlooked despite its remarkable potential? The answer may very well shape the future of Asia and the world. Now, if you want to know how the Philippines is outsmarting giants with its people only, then you should watch this video showing up on your screen. Thanks for watching, mate, and a bundle of thanks for hitting the subscribe button.